as well that if someone has like some limiting beliefs or something is holding them back from actually achieving the goals that they want and being successful, like they can't do this by themselves. Like they first of all, they don't even realize these problems. They don't see the problems.
But otherwise, man, like you said, I did this for so long. I just like productive procrastination. I had no idea how to schedule my day. I was like, let's read some Gary Vee. There's some Gary Vee here actually in my bookshelf. Let's just like read some Gary Vee or some Eckhart Tolle or whatever.
At the same time, like in a book, there's nobody just giving you feedback personally on your life. Okay, so like maybe you have a problem with this, or maybe you think that you have a problem with sales, and at the same time, maybe your problem is just like fear of talking to people, for example.
What up, YouTube? Charles here. First of all, thank you so much for checking in. For today, I want to introduce a really special podcast because today you will see an episode I did with my friend Michal. And I really consider him a friend after making that episode because I didn't even know him before, but I saw him on Instagram and I really enjoyed his content because he calls himself a videopreneur. So he teaches videographers to make 10K US dollars a month with their business and even more. And I really appreciate that because he really wants to help other people to make the best out of their lives and the best out of their businesses. And this is also what we focused on in our podcast. So if you want to know more about how to build a business, how to build a brand, how to work on all your areas of your life, like health, relationship, business, even spirituality, we talked a little bit about, then watch that episode till the end. And if you want to know more about Michal, his service, his Instagram account, check all the links in the description below. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Without any further ado, I hope you will enjoy that episode. Cheers. So awesome. I especially wanted to talk to you because I saw your Instagram post. I mean, I saw you on Instagram before, like your feed and everything. And I saw the Instagram post about abundance. And I was traveling during that time. I was like, for 7 weeks, I was just away, traveling, meeting entrepreneurs, friends of mine. And before I went traveling, I was actually in scarcity. I had the money on the bank to go travel. But just my mind was like, yeah, what if this happens? Or what if I get sick? Or, and then I just went traveling and I was sure, like, I'm kind of a woo guy. So I told myself, okay, if I don't go, I just reinforce the mindset of the world is a scary place, scarcity. So I just told myself, okay, if you trust in the concept of abundance, you need to go right now, just go. And I went for 7 weeks and actually the things I got out from it were like 10 times better than I actually imagined.
Oh, wow.
So because I kind of reinforced this abundance mindset, I had such a great experience. And then at the end of my travels, I saw your post with the shirt and I was reading the Instagram post, like you also said something exactly like this, like abundance starts in your mind, what you think, what you create. And I was like, dude, I need to talk to him for at least 1 hour. And then I was like, why not create a podcast? Because a lot of guys, most of the people watching my podcast are guys. And they're basically at the same stage as us, like, like young guys want to go out there, hustle, create stuff. But I feel like the scarcity mentality is like a mental illness almost right now in our society because we have no reason to live in scarcity. So I was like, dude, let's just talk, let's shoot a podcast. So thanks for being here. And
100% glad to be here.
No worries. Before we start, just like tell people a little bit what you do, what your story is, and then we can like go and
perfect. Podcast. Yeah, so I'm gonna go full into it. My name is Michael. I'm 25 years old now. That was a very official introduction. I'm 25 years. I'm originally from Slovakia. Now for the past 1.5 years, I live in Kiev, Ukraine. Before that, I used to live in a lot of different countries. So UK, Germany, and how I basically got into what I'm doing right now. So let me kind of start from the start, kind of logically, chronologically. So before when I studied, it was IT programming, very technical, very logical. And that was pretty good for me because I was always very introverted and shy and kind of, just like I wanted to sit down and not talk to anybody. And that was perfect, because I can be just like in front of computer for hours and days. And I thought like this is also what I'm going to be doing in the future. But then as I kind of progressed through university, the first year, I noticed that this wasn't really for me and I was just too demanding. Like it wasn't like, something that I would like really enjoy doing. And also like back then I lived in Scotland where I studied and my parents couldn't really support me financially, so I was just like chasing after these side jobs, just to be able to afford basic food and my student dorm. And that's like after that 1 year, I kind of decided like, okay, I need to move on. I need to do something else. And that's also how I got into Germany, where I still continued studying this IT and programming. And then I made a switch slowly, like to more creative things. That's where I also bought my first camera. And yeah, I just slowly made a switch to university also into like graphic design, a little bit programming, filmmaking. And from that point on, when I got my first camera, when I started taking pictures, I knew that, okay, this is now what I want to be doing for the rest of my life, or something related, because it was just like a beautiful feeling, and kind of like it makes sense because also when I was a child, I was definitely into the creative side. Like I was drawing a lot, painting, playing music instruments. So I definitely had it in me. And that's also probably why it was much easier for me to like actually get good in photography and video quite fast, because I already had the background from graphic design. I kind of like even the software that you use for video product, like video editing and editing pictures, it's similar or like the same as I used for graphic design. So Adobe Photoshop, for example. And yeah, I remember still now, this was I think like 3 or 4 years ago now. I had this realization that I was just shooting with some friends. And then I thought, like, I came back home, like after the whole day of shooting, and I was like, damn, like this is good. Like if I could do this for like actually make money with this and make a full-time living out of this. And like, this is pretty much what I would do all day, every day, would be amazing, because like I'm doing it right now, even just, for free, just because it's a lot of fun. And then this is where I like really started to take this a bit more professionally. And still, I was going to university. I had a part-time job in Stuttgart back then. I was living in Germany. And yeah, like it was kind of hard for me to like really get into it and like know exactly what I was doing, or like where to find clients, how to charge people. Like I was even afraid to tell people that I'm charging for my photography.
Yeah, same.
And that's also like where I kind of like struggled, I would say a year almost. And at that point I was like, okay, I'm either going to make it, like I'm really going to change something, or just let this go completely. And obviously that was the point where I was like, okay, let's just go full in. And I got a mentor. I can't really say lucky, because that's also the whole topic about abundance and like, your thinking. I really believe that if you really want something and you look for possibilities and you create these possibilities, then everything is pretty much possible. So that's how I got my mentor. And then he told me mostly not photography, not art, like skills, how to take better pictures or how to edit video, but it was mostly on like communication, sales, marketing, presentation. Like once I kind of gone through that, once I learned these skills, then I started like seeing much more success. And suddenly, like I was 21 at that point, and I was shooting for like big corporate brands throughout Germany. I was shooting weddings and like a lot of small projects. So yeah, like I got successful pretty fast, I would say. Well, it took me that year to actually get to that point. But once I, gone through the mentorship with my mentor, it was like pretty steep curve up. And at that point, like this is kind of like how I transition also to what I'm doing right now. So just to make it short, or shorter than this already, like I dropped out of university, kind of like, or they intentionally kicked me out because I just didn't go to the classes, and I didn't go to the exams, because I was just like now full into photography and video production. I set up my own business now, which is like every day, shooting, editing, finding clients. So that was like really cool. And then at that point, like I was young, I was now pretty successful. I was making good money. But still, like I had something, like I wanted to explore the world. I wanted to get to know people, and just like really live and experience something else. And that's also when I had the chance to get on board with one of, in my opinion, one of the best coaches or public speakers in the world, as his personal cinematographer and photographer. And for a year and a half almost, I was traveling with him. We were shooting videos together. We were, like
Was it
through that,
the
I also,
Max? RZ Max?
exactly.
Oh yeah.
So if somebody wants to check him out, it's Max Torno on Instagram or YouTube. And back then, he was like, I would say number one when it comes to dating advice and
Yeah.
relationships, the overall confidence. And now he transitioned into business, which I by the way, this is also, I'm not sure like what's your opinion on this, but in my opinion, it's just like usually people that come from this, like self-development dating background, then they also are very good in business, or at least they go for it, because
Yeah.
it kind of teaches you the mindset that, okay, now you have responsibility and you can do pretty much whatever you want,
Yeah.
and then you don't settle for less and you just create your own reality. So
Love it.
I'm not sure if that was also the case for you.
Yeah. Dude, like the same. I've met Max in 2015 when he started coaching in Zurich. We
Mm-hmm.
had some one-on-ones,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
to be honest, yeah, like for me, it started with the whole fitness journey. Like I was a really skinny dude. Like unfortunately, also fortunately, I got diagnosed with anorexia when I was 15. Like I funny enough, almost killed myself because I had no idea about
Oh, wow.
nutrition. Now it's my
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
my it's my catchphrase when I teach people. I'm like, I had no idea, I almost killed myself. You're better than me
Mm-hmm.
right now. Back in the days. So yeah, it started with the gym. So then I went to the gym and I got so good results. I changed my whole body that I realized, shit, dude, the self-image you have of yourself is not the truth. You can change. And then I
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
realized that I was like I was bad with, I had social skills, but I was bad with like girls, like dating. So
Mm-hmm.
I went out and I got my references, my learnings, and I improved that. And now I'm like, dude, I can also improve my business. Just the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
fact that I don't make 5 figures right now, but I know I will be there because I know the process. Was the same with the gym, was the same with dating. Now it's like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's just learning and trusting the process in kind of a way, and have this self-responsibility mindset instead of like victim mentality, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that's also, I think, the big part of why people like us, connect very well, or pretty much, like we just found each other randomly on Instagram. We had a couple of common friends.
Hmm.
But since we are both like on this path, like having our own business, having like just always going after it, never giving up, like having the abundance
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah.
This is what, like, I for example really value in my life, that once I got into these circles, and once I like had my success, had my experiences, had my failures as well, like I got to know also much higher quality people, and I was
Yeah.
able to network with these people, which is
Dude.
super cool.
Hmm.
And yeah, this is also pretty much like how I transition into coaching or consulting that I do right now. uh, as I mentioned, like in the I was there in Germany, and then I traveled with Max for 1.5 years almost. And then throughout that time, like a lot of things happen, and I also got way better when it comes to networking, when it comes to speaking, because as I said, like for me, just even doing this podcast, for example, or like shooting videos, if I would have to do this like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I would probably rather pay someone like 10,000 euros than do this. So this just shows that everything is possible, and like
Yeah.
once you do this enough, and once you believe yourself, then everything's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of like, I got inspired by Max, by a lot of people that are in his network, to actually start coaching and start helping other people, because, and it was also kind of natural, like when this clicked, I really liked the idea, and I really started like very fast, because I was kind of like good, or like very good, I would say, when it comes to photography and video production. And I also knew like what it is to not be able to get your own clients. And then I also experienced like what it is like to actually have your freedom, and like have so many clients that you can't even handle them per month. And as I said, like back then I was 21, 22, and I just had like the first shitty camera, and I was charging like 1.2, 1.5, 2,000 euros for a shoot. So then this kind of like inspired me to like help other people, especially when I see now with a lot of photographers and videographers, like that they are pretty good, when in what they're doing, but they are completely lacking the social
Yeah.
skills, the
Yeah.
sales, the marketing,
The
just the
sales. Yeah.
confidence, the overall mindset. So
Yeah.
this is what I help people the most right now. And yeah, I couldn't be happier, because I have what I always wanted, which is location independence. Whereas back then I was tied to one specific city.
Yeah.
Like just purely from the revenue perspective, or like from the business perspective. And in my opinion, it's way easier to actually make money with photography or video, because like your potential clients, they actually see your work. Like they see
Sorry.
what you have to offer.
Mhm. Sorry, somebody
And
come in. Yeah, just go on.
and pretty much everybody needs video or photos. And that's also what I keep telling people, that especially now 2019 2020, like every business, or even like private people, like maybe even you coaches like like if you can have like a sick intro or trailer video, or like different videos for your marketing funnel or sales video, this is like what everybody benefits from. So yeah, just going back to this,
Yeah.
like I could either go back to like having my own business and being in one specific city, for example, but on the other side, I also wanted to be just like very free and location independent, which is exactly what I do now, because all I need is my notebook and my phone, and I can just like coach people all over the world. And even now I have like people in USA, I have people all over Europe, so that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, because you said you were traveling with Max. What changed in your belief system hanging out with him like for so close?
Yeah. Good question. And I also thought about this because a lot of people ask me. Definitely, I would say number one is just learning how to think bigger, because you might have this too, and I'm sure a lot of people just listening to this will agree with me that we kind of grew up in this like scarcity mentality, where our parents were they wanted us to be safe and not the best, so like even when I look back at my life, I was very like I have to say I was very talented as a kid. And I'm not sure if this is just like by the way my parents raised me, because also my mom is a kindergarten teacher, so she knows how to deal with children. But I know that like every time I did something, even as a small child, like I was the best in class with, in maths, for example, or physics. And then when I went to playing music instruments, again, I was like very skilled. Then I went playing football professionally. So with a lot of these things, I was kind of good, but I was never the best, which, and I was also not pushed to do my best. I was not motivated, because I was just like, okay, just do what I want for fun, for out of passion. And just never had this mindset, okay, it's like if you actually want to achieve something, if you truly want to be happy, you just need to do like you need to choose something and then just go for it, like full on, like never give up. And also just like I would say my mindset was kind of adapted to this like very safe way of living. So that was the main problem. And then that was also the biggest learning once I got into self-development, once I got into dating, and then especially when I was with these people physically, like around them, and how they lead their, like for example how Max leads his team members, how he does business. You can just like learn a lot. So it was overall just like thinking bigger, and like never have any limitations, like everything is possible, and just keep pushing, keep hustling. Really care about other people. So
I love it, man. I love it. Same with me. Like sometimes, or most of the time, I just try to meet them in real life, just to see that they are just like normal people. Because when we watch them on like YouTube, we think like, like on a pedestal, and then you see him go on the toilet, or being tired, being angry, being mad. I'm like, this guy is like similar as me. Why can I not do it? It's an interesting thing. Also, perhaps, do you know the YouTuber called Josh Palalin? Have you heard of the guy?
To be
Like
honest, no.
he's like a prankster. Also haven't heard of him. Like he's a prankster.
Right. Okay.
And that's a guy who invited me to Bali. So
Okay.
I was like, yeah, just go. I want to see how he thinks. I want to pick his brain for a week. So we were like roommates. And one interesting thing was, I love like social experiments. I love to talk to as many people as possible. So twice in my life, I talked to some homeless people here in Switzerland. I wanted to see what's their paradigm of life. Why are they in that situation? And both homeless people were like, it's not their fault. It's like the government, they got tricked here, but not 0% of self-responsibility, just like zero. I was like, dude, that's trippy. And then Josh, he's like free. He has a big YouTube channel, has his business, building a team right now. I want to see how does he think. So I was
Mm-hmm,
talking to
mm-hmm,
him during the week, and then I went to him in the beginning. I told him, "Hey, bro, thank you so much for your invitation to Bali. I really appreciate it." And he told me, "Don't thank me. Thank yourself for giving yourself the possibility to come, the permission to come."
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I was like, this is like next level self responsibility. So you have like him on one side, on this extreme, and the homeless people on this extreme. I'm like in the middle, I hope more on this side. But I was like, dude, I thought I have no victim mentality, but he's like next level. And perhaps there's a reason why he's there, you know? And
Mm-hmm,
just to hear
mm-hmm,
this
mm-hmm.
one quote for me was worth all the money I spent to hang out with him. I was like,
Oh,
boom,
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
it's
But again,
noble.
it just shows perfectly, like with even with these situations when you have to make a decision, you're like, okay, am I gonna do something which is kind of risky? I'm not sure, like if it's gonna work out, or if I just should stay, in my safe place, in my comfort zone. And I'm also naturally like scared. Like for example, even when I started my business, I had no clue. Like I had no idea. Like it's a big switch. Like if you go from like a fixed salary per month into like suddenly having like zero income, and you pretty much have to like find it, like you have to find your own clients, you have to make the money somehow.
Yeah.
Or even now, like I'm planning, like as I said at the beginning, like right now I'm still in Kiev, Ukraine, and for the winter is like super cold, and even like in my hometown in Bratislava is like getting cold and nasty. And I promised myself last year, when I kind of made a switch into like having my own business, that I never want to spend a winter like in these cold countries again, unless I choose to, like unless it's specifically like for skiing or snowboarding, or just like diving in a lake somewhere in Finland.
Hashtag
Like
Wim
I just,
Hof. Yeah.
yeah, I just don't want to be in these countries where it's cold, And then now I guess I'm kind of late a little bit already, because I also had this, like I would say, limiting. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but I just thought like, okay, I just need to hustle on my business. I need to sit down. I just need to put in the work. And if I would be traveling, that would be distracting. I would have to obviously I have the travel expenses, and then I'm getting distracted as well. So that's why I was also postponing this quite a bit.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely for January, I want to go somewhere warm. And like I when I mentioned this to people, they were all excited, like, yeah, we want to go with you. And I mentioned like the idea of just having a hostel villa with like 4 or 5 people, where everybody has their own business and we just support each other. And when it actually comes to booking the tickets,
Oh
like
yeah.
nobody actually does this. So I'm sure you know this, so
Yeah.
and I'm this type of guy, especially now. Like before, I wasn't, but now I just learned, like, okay, if I want something, I'm either gonna say yes or no, and it's very clear. So if I say yes, I'm actually gonna do it. So, right now I'm also in this position, like, okay, should I go alone and maybe network with people there and find people there, or should I just stay in here or in Slovakia?
Mhm.
And then I just think that I just should go no matter what, and then
Yeah.
opportunities gonna create themselves. Because
All
even
over.
now I have people messaging me like, yeah, when you're gonna be there, I might just come, like who knows.
Yeah.
Or I also know a few people in Bali, because I was there last winter, which was pretty cool as well, because I went there actually, not as a business trip almost, because I was filming a reality show for YouTube. And that was also a good uh, side benefit, I would say, of being a photographer or videographer, that then even stuff like this happens, that you can travel for free, and that you get the expenses paid. So yeah, the point is that I was in Bali before, so I know a few people there and I know it's amazing. So
Yeah,
I
dude.
think I'm just gonna book the flights, I'm gonna go there and then see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I realize it's a good mindset because if you calibrate after the fact, even with traveling, it just increases your self confidence so much. Like I had no idea what will happen during my travels. I got 10 times of the things back. And I was like, dude, it's just like, especially as a young man, we never had these rituals, like like they put like the 14-year-old guy or 7-year-old kid in the forest, and if he survives he's like a man, like
Mm-hmm.
in the movie The Gladiator. And we never had that in our society. So we as guys, we need to challenge ourselves, we need to go into the unknown, and stuff like this. Sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
like David Data says, how do you cultivate your masculine energy is through challenge. Like feminine energy blossoms through praise. But if you praise
Mm-hmm.
me as a guy, I'm like, okay, cool, bro. But I want to get challenged. Like
Yeah,
go
yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
true.
Like calibrate after the fact. I mean, it's not the. I mean, Bali. It's not like Brazil or something. Where you can get shot. Bali is super cool. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And it's also funny what you, or not funny, it's like very insightful what you said with handling praise as well. Because I still think that I'm just at the beginning, like the first 1% or 5%, and I still have like way much to go. But also I kind of realized like throughout the past years that, you know, people notice that I'm kind of successful, that I'm good at a lot of different things. And then, you know, always there are people that kind of praise me or they give me compliments. And before I didn't really know how to handle it because I feel like, okay, I'm not really that special. And I still like wanted to thank them or be grateful towards them that they even notice. But for me right now, it's exactly as I say. I just like, I just take the compliment. It's like, yeah, cool, bro. Like I appreciate it. And that then I just take it because like for me it doesn't change anything, you know, like
Yeah.
if people would tell me I'm the best, or if people wouldn't notice me at all, like for me now I learned how to have this confidence. And what I do pretty much is like I would do it regardless of my audience or if people like it or not. Like
Yeah.
obviously I try to like even in my coaching I always um, take input from my students and like always find ways to improve. But at the same time I'm not dependent on someone else's validation or compliments, you know. So
Yeah. 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 It's a good one. So, what would you say? Because I know a lot of guys, perhaps they listen to that podcast and they want to start a business. Um, what what was your biggest struggle? Like you mentioned it before in the beginning. Like a funny thing you said, which is also the case for me. Still, when I mentioned my price, you know, like now again I increase my prices, and always when I mention them, I feel like a little bit uneasy. You know, like I guess it's
mm-hmm,
still
mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
a wrong belief with money, maybe, or something like that. This is deep rooted, or what's your opinion?
Mm, yes, yes. I would say both. Like it's definitely like deep rooted, or at least it comes from the childhood, you know, because maybe you had the same, but for me, definitely like as I mentioned before, in my family, it was, you know, like just save and save and save and don't spend much and always just settle for less. And
Oh yeah.
you know, it's okay not to it's okay not to make the most money in the world. Like you just, you know, don't need it anyway. Like you're happy either way. And you know, why should you chase after success and money if you can just have, like go through university, then get some safe job, then find like a
Safe job, bro.
wife. Yeah,
Safe
yeah,
job.
yeah. So this, like in my case, it was definitely like the whole scarcity mindset was like very deep rooted.
Yeah.
And I had to I this Jesus, can't even speak anymore.
No
This
worries.
definitely hurts me when, especially when it comes to business, right? Because if you just have your 9 to 5 job, or if you go to university, like you have no responsibility when it comes to this. Like you just get told what you have to do, you do it, and then you get paid, right? But if you set up a business, if you're creating the business, then you need so many more of these skills, also like the personal skills that you as a person have to be on like a very next, on like a completely different level. Because as we also discussed like off camera, that you need to do everything now. Like you're responsible for finding clients, for like actually selling to them, for like giving them good results, for marketing, for like the back end, you know, for paperwork, legal stuff, you know. So for and like the coming to the topic of pricing, it was also for me definitely like at the start, even just the concept of sales calls, or like getting on calls with someone else was like very frightening. So I ruined pretty much at least 10 or 15 or 20 calls when I started. And that was already after I thought I knew sales and I knew marketing, because obviously
Yeah.
like I was working with the team with Max, and they are doing this day in, day out. So I kind of knew I was like, I thought I was good. And at the same time, like when I started, it was like that also influenced or shows the importance of just like actually executing and doing. Because if you only have the knowledge, it's like if you wouldn't have anything. Like it has to be the combination. Like obviously you can't execute without the knowledge, but at the same time, if you only have the knowledge, then you think you can do this, but you can't. So
Yeah.
you have to combine both and kind of go through these experiences. And also just having a mentor or having someone that can like show you, you know, step by step exactly what you have to do in that case is like very helpful. And this is also what can cut the learning curve, you know, maybe
Yeah.
from 3 4 months, 6 months, 1 year, to just a few weeks in
Yeah.
some cases.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned money, time, and university because I love that topic. I made a YouTube video when I was back in Taiwan. I talked
Mm-hmm.
about. Do you know the author Seneca? I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm,
He has written a book called About the Shortness of Life.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
in his book, he says that most people have it wrong. They're super greedy with their money, but you always know how much money you have left, and you always know how much you spend, that you can
mm-hmm,
get a
mm-hmm,
job
mm-hmm.
and everything. But with time, you don't know how much you have left, and we cannot get it back. So money you can always get back, but people are greedy with their money. But if the time, no
Mm-hmm,
one is greedy. It's
mm-hmm,
like, yeah, I don't like my university degree, but I need to finish the next 2 years. What I did is
mm-hmm,
after 1.5 years, I quit. I was like one of the latest guys that quit. And people were thinking like crazy, like, dude, you almost did like 2 years. Why you lost like 2 years? Why are you quitting? I'm like, no, I would have lost 1 year if I would have continued, perhaps even 5, because then I would be in a job that I don't
Super
like.
true. Yeah, yeah.
So I just like cut it right now. And back in the days, I'm so fortunate. I was listening to Title's 67 Steps, and he talked
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
about what is it called? So like a cognitive bias that if we are
Oh yeah,
already
yeah, yeah. I
this
heard this. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
discounting bias, something like this. Like if you already
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
or consistency bias also. If you're already invested in something, like in a bad relationship, the probability that you stay there is so much higher
Hi.
or in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
bad job,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I knew that bias. I was like, dude, the bias is working right now. Just cut the bias. And the social
Mm-hmm,
proof in the
mm-hmm.
university, fuck the people from university, just social proof. It was a lot in these cognitive biases in this knowledge. So I was like,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
just do something else. And I'm so grateful. Like it was a lot of stress in the beginning, of course, but just the feeling of someone having control of my life, dude, it scares the shit out of me. I don't like it. I feel like,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I feel weird, man. I don't like it.
Yeah, yeah. And it was interesting because this happened to me as well. Like I was first year in university in Scotland, then I transitioned to Germany where I was also 2 years. And so I kind of like lost a lot of time in university because normally you are able to finish your bachelor's in 3 years.
Yeah,
Uh, and like in my case, I already spent 3 years at university pretty much, and then I still had 1.5 years to go. And like everybody told me, like obviously I told my family that I want to quit. I told my friends that I'm planning to like quitting, and they told me like, dude, now you just like spend so much time there,
yeah,
and you only have 1 more year or 1.5 years. Just go through it, and so you have the bachelor's, you have the paper, and then just do whatever you want. But for me, it was like really one of the best decisions that I made because I felt that when I was in these classes, it was like not something that I can ever use in real life. It wasn't like bringing me to a higher level, and it was like very boring. Like even that's also the thing with filmmaking, with photography. Like at university or in film school, you don't really learn that much when it comes to like actual real world experience. So when you finish studying, when you have your paper, then of course you can get employed in some agency or like some creative agency or video production company. But if you want to have your own business, your own clients, then you have no clue.
yeah,
So that's also what happened to me, and that's also why I think honestly that investing into a mentor or a coach uh, just gets you the investment back like 10 or 100 times more, like faster, right? So
yeah.
like especially I'm not sure in Switzerland, for example, if the university is paid. In Germany, or at least okay, so comparison between Europe and US, like in US I know that you have to pay huge amounts of money to just go to university. I think in Europe it's a bit better, but still, like you have to pay some kind of money.
Yeah.
And then just the time that you pretty much waste, especially if you see that it's not 100% fulfilling you, uh, then yeah, people just like go to these classes, they numb themselves down onto like, okay, they now obviously they want to achieve something more, but they kind of get used to their own habits that they're gonna say like, oh yeah, like maybe someday in the future, like I'm gonna do it. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like if you say this, it's not never gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. My business mentor and good friend, he told me if you, it's like a muscle you train. If you always work for someone else, you're basically training that muscle to work on for someone else, and you don't think for yourself. It's kind of, I guess it's the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Didn't want to
But
like
but
interrupt you. Yeah, sorry, go on.
yeah, I just want to touch on because I guess your audience is also these young guys that are into fitness, that are into dating, into creating business. And you asked me like what was the most challenging thing, or like what were the hard things when I started. So I just want to briefly touch on that because I think that's going to be also beneficial to a lot of the listeners. So I would say like definitely just the switch between like a 9 to 5 job where you just get paid and you are employed by someone, switching into a business, it's completely, you have to develop different abilities and different skills because, as I said, if you are just like, if you have your boss, he doesn't care if you're good in sales or public speaking or like negotiation or effective communication, for example. If you have like really good confidence or habits, so this is all the things that I had to learn. And then also, like, once I kind of fun fact here as well, that when I started, I went into a completely different niche. So I started a business, then I went through it, I think like 3 or 4 months, and I didn't make anything, like no sale at all. I pretty much just wasted 4 months and a lot of resources as well, because that was back then where I knew that I have to focus on like one specific niche. So I did that, but that was it. So obviously also with the combination that I couldn't sell, I couldn't really market myself properly. So that was a big fail. But it was also a good learning experience because I was just hustling nonstop, every day, like 10, 12, 15 hours. And at the same time, like I wasn't successful. So once I gone through that stage, then I pretty much started with my current business, what I do now. So the videopreneur mentoring, which is like helping photographers and videographers basically get more successful.
Yep.
And that's also when I started like really seeing the success, because now obviously this was much more interesting to me as well, because that's, I literally was that guy that I'm targeting now with my services. So also, for example, when I was messaging these people, when I was writing ads, it was very successful because I pretty much, and also some people ask me, okay, so why, I'm not sure if like what kind of advice do you get, but especially in the beginning, like people shouldn't, it's kind of like good practice not to run ads too much and just like, get your first couple of clients organically, for example. But I was running ads as well, like right in the beginning. And it was successful because I just wrote the copy. I wrote the ads to myself like 3 or 4 years ago. So I knew exactly what problems the people have. I knew exactly how to solve them. And I think that's also why this works so well. Because I pretty much just like look at my life 3-4 years ago and what I was struggling with, and I focus on that.
Yeah. It's a good point. So what could we touch on? I was just thinking about what could be also from value for like all the people watching the podcast. I wanted to ask you also regarding the business, because I know, a lot of guys, I also met him once, like Gary Vaynerchuk, like he's like, hustle your face off, hustle till face melts off your skull. So what do you think about that? Because I don't think that this is like the way I want to. I want to do it, or I will do it for like short periods of time, but of course it's not like the life I want to live, like short term. So what's your perspective and advice, like for guys like that? Should you do it, or do you need to do it actually to be successful? Or
yeah, I love the questions that we go through and that you ask, because it's like always, we just do this super spontaneously, but I feel like everything is connected and everything makes sense. And this, again, like a super good question, because I was definitely, I would say my whole life, I was never conditioned to like always be the best and always keep pushing. But at the same time, me personally, like my character was always to like be consistent and always hustle. So even, like 5-6 years ago, when my classmates were just partying and getting drunk and playing video games, I was in my room and I was improving, and like I was learning languages. I was learning graphic design and all of these things. So I did have the good habits. And then also like coming into business, that's also what I said, like in the first like 3 months, the failed business, I was like literally hustling every day, like 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. And I think you need both, or like at least you need to go through these stages, because that's also how I started. Like I was just hustling, like mindlessly hustling, like all the time, putting in the work. And I thought it's going to be effective. And then I also had this stage where I was like, okay, so, I'm just going to let it go, and I'm just going to like see what happens. I'm going to enjoy myself a little bit more, like at the weekends, maybe just go out with friends a little bit, or go on a date, or just like spend time with my family, or do some reading as well. It's like not always just hustling nonstop.
Yeah.
And I think that can also go too far, because then you think like, okay, I just don't need anything. I'm going to let go of everything, and I'm just going to let the universe give me all the good things. So that obviously also doesn't work. or at least in my opinion, this doesn't work. So, and this can take you like too far, because then you feel abundant. You feel like, okay, I'm just gonna let the universe give me all the good things, and then you're just lying on the couch getting high and watching movies, and that also doesn't help. So I think
Yeah.
it's what I do now, and what I think I will just develop much more for the future, like going in the future, is to have a mix. Like, for example, now I have days where I just like really feel more like thinking and just strategizing and like planning everything, structuring everything. And then I have days where I just sit down in the morning and I hustle like 15
Mm.
hours nonstop, and I just like plow through, and I do everything. Like, I write the copy, I coach clients, I write materials for them, I record videos, I do this and this and this. So I think like you have to. It's kind of like in a car, like if you don't want to burn out, you can't just like be on the gas nonstop all the time, right? So,
Yeah.
so then you also like just sometimes you just want to go through like the night city very slowly, just like chilling, listening to music. Sometimes you also have to stop and get the gas, and wash the
Yeah.
windows. And so
Mm.
I think like that's also what you have to do as a person, especially with business, because when I was working a 9 to 5 job, it was, I just went there in the morning. I went through the day, like working 8-9 hours per day, and then that was it. But with your own business, you can pretty much work as much as you want. And obviously, since this is your life, since this is your business, you just want to work as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that's also like, for me, it was always the case that every day, like even if I just didn't sleep for a week, I would still have something to do. Like, I always have something to do. And it's just a matter of like productivity and like, organizing everything strategically and in the most efficient way. But at the same time, like, uh it's definitely not a cliche to just like, when people say, okay, you need to also take some time off
Yeah.
and chill a little bit. So yeah, I would say like definitely just learning to keep it in balance and find
Yeah.
your combination that works for you.
Yeah. That's a good point. I love the law of attraction, abundance thing you said. I'm like more like this type of guy. I could just like chill all day. And I did
Mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
the Vipassana meditation retreat. Perhaps you have heard
Mm-hmm,
it,
mm-hmm.
like the 10-day one. I will
Yeah,
do
yeah,
one
yeah.
again,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of love this stuff. I did my second Vipassana 3-day retreat before I had my first sales call on
Mm-hmm.
for my business. So I realized the value of like both sides of the coin. You have like spirituality and you have like the business hustle coin. Like both sides. But I see a lot of guys, especially like in the spirituality community. I've met some people in Berlin actually. Shout out! Like I love these
Mm-hmm.
guys. But some people are just like too much like, yeah, I'm just gonna. I told him, I watched his YouTube channel, great guy, good soul, but his marketing was really shitty. So I told him,
Mm-hmm.
bro,
Mm-hmm.
you need to have more killer marketing. I know you like law of attraction, but dude, like if you really want to help people, you kind of need to get into their pain. So some people on
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
side are like to like too much like, law of attraction, I'm going to manifest it. And then you see the business guys, the entrepreneurs, they have like shitty sleep. They sleep like 4 hours a
Yeah, yeah,
day.
yeah.
They have shitty health. So like you said, I guess you need to find your own combination, and then like be a kind in the middle. I feel
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like long term. But as you said, I guess it's good to go like on these immersion times.
Yeah, 100%. And I would also say what you said now is that you find these like just more mindful approach or more conscious approach is beneficial. And definitely, like, I think there's no point where you can just like be too conscious or like too you know present, because that definitely helped me a lot as well. Like, before I was just like hustling, like pushing on the pedal, and now I see it kind of like you have this car, and then maybe your max speed is like 80 kilometers per hour, and like you just put like your gas to the like pedal to the metal, as they say, and you just go, but you're capped at this 80 kilometers per hour. And then,
Yeah.
like, I think we're just letting go a little bit, taking some time off, maybe like going on some retreats, meditation. What I'm like really curious about, I think you have also like discussed this on your Instagram stories, is with some ayahuasca or some
Mm.
DMT, some mushrooms, like some psychedelics, which again, people still have a lot of, I would say 80% of people still have like look at this, like, what the fuck, what the hell. I'm not sure if you're swearing on this podcast. I
Dude, I
just
swear all the
realized
time,
this.
man. I swear too much.
Okay.
You could do it.
All right. Perfect. Perfect. So they see it, like, why would you take drugs like this? And they compare it, maybe they compare mushrooms or LSD with heroin or like crack cocaine, which which is like completely different effects. And the more I look into this, more I even like listen to audiobooks that are related to more just like letting go, more towards mindfulness, I definitely feel that it helps me being much more efficient as well, much more like with the example of the car, like maybe you can just like the maximum you can go is 80 per hour, but suddenly you can just like release some kind of blockage, which gives your engine like 30% more power, and now like with the same effort you can now go 100 or 110.
Beautiful, yeah. Because you're not like trying to control everything, because you let go, right? You let go, and then you have more mental capabilities for something else. Yeah, it's I love it, man. I love it. I recommend everyone listen to my podcast. I always recommend the Vipassana retreats, like an 11-day retreat, but you don't talk to anyone. You don't look anyone in the eyes. You can ask the teacher sometimes if you want, but you just meditate for around 10 hours a day. And you do this for 10 days, like such an immersion. You come out. I was never so present in my whole life. You're just like, you're there, it's just like, it's just a good reference experience because you see what your brain is capable of. And then I went in the sales call. I did a 3-day retreat. I went to the sales. I was so smooth in the sales call. I was nervous, but it doesn't, you are so unreactive. If you meditate for 10 days, the unreactiveness is so fucking beautiful, man. Like it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. And I think this is also a very, very good way, just meditation and overall, just like really letting yourself see the bad sides and the fears that you have, and just like work on them and let them go, because at the end, like naturally, like you yourself, like you don't have any blockages, like you don't have a problem like asking for a high price, you don't have a problem with confidence. It's just like you are being socially conditioned from very young age to actually have these limitations and be afraid, and that's also the bad part here, because it very early on, like your whole consciousness and your brain is very moldable, or like easily influenced by, and then you develop these very strong habits, and then it's way harder to actually get rid of them, but still it makes sense, because like anything, even if it's hard, it's way better than not doing that at all, right? So so then sometimes I was also just like, okay, what else can I learn? Like, what new cool marketing technique can I learn? What can I add to my ads to make them more flashy? Or like on sales calls, like what can I like tell them to buy my stuff, right? But then I came to the approach that, okay, it's not that hard. Like, it's very natural. It's just like you having a conversation with other people and like really figuring out if you can help them. And like I definitely had calls for, or like I had situations where I told people like they had the money, they wanted to get on board, and I just told them like, sorry, like I just don't see this would be beneficial for us both long term. I can definitely recommend you to someone else, because I want you to succeed. I want you to be good, but it just wouldn't be fit for me and you. So, and this is also what you kind of have to know how to do. And yeah.
Abundance, man. As soon as you have abundance, you have options. So,
yeah.
Just another question popped into my mind, because I personally struggle with that. I'm naturally, if you know the Myers-Briggs test, I'm an ENFJ personality type, ENFJ, ENFP. So we often start stuff, we don't follow it through, or we also have problems to decide for like big decisions. And something I see a lot on the internet, also in real life, is like, we have like these 4 areas in life, like spirituality, health, relationship, and business. And I see so many guys, also girls, of course, this podcast is for both of them, like trying to do everything at the same time. And for me, I struggle to decide with which one I should start, because you look like a guy, have your business together. I guess you're working on your social skills. You seem like you worked a lot on them back in the days, and perhaps you're also on your fitness journey right now. So how do you decide which area to focus on?
Oh, wow. That's a very good question again, and very hard as well, because there are some people I would like that they tell you like, okay, you just can go full in on everything, just like improve, like hustle and like keep pushing forward. But at the same time, like it's not possible. Like even if you are just like super motivated and super confident and you want to get better, like you only have the 24 hours per day. And obviously a big part of that you're sleeping or eating or just like, spending in maintenance mode. So then if you really want to get good at something, you have to focus on this like 100%. Or what I like to do is kind of like, as you mentioned, there's like these 4 pillars or 4 different areas that you can work on to actually get your life to a better standard, or just to be happier. And maybe I can like juggle 2 And then always I focus one, maybe like 60, 70%, and the other one 30%. Or 40%, and then like I focus on these until I get that to a certain level. And then if I see that I want to switch to something else, or like something else is lacking behind, then I kind of transition into that slowly. And I definitely see this now that, especially with my business, and you as well, and a lot of people listening to this probably, like, if we have our own business, you just want to spend all your time on it. Like, you just want to grow this, and you want to get better and reach more people, make more money, of course. And then I see that I also have to just like set a goal. And then once I reach that, then, kind of like put everything else in balance. Because as I said, like now for me, if you would ask me like what I want to do, it's just like, I want to be at home and work, and I want to like get my business to the next level. So even with girls, for example, like sometimes I would just like cancel a date, or I prefer like not to even like talk to girls, because I see it as a waste of time, which is definitely also not the right approach. So I would say just like be aware of where you're at in each of these spheres or levels, and then what is important for you at that moment, just focus on that, and then get that to a certain level. Because I see it kind of as pillars, so let's say you have 100%, like 10 out of 10, and then depending on your upbringing and depending on your situation and your natural skills, like maybe you're like a 4 on business, then you're like a 7 in fitness, and then maybe you're 5 on dating, and then you kind of like see what is important for you at that moment, and then you work on maybe 1 or 2 of these areas. You get that maybe up by 2 points, by 3 points, and then once you see the results, so maybe if it's with socializing or goals, then you kind of invest more time and effort into this, and then you find a girlfriend, or maybe you have like a couple of girls that you're just seeing casually. And then if you're happy with this, then you just move to a different stage. Maybe then you say like, okay, so I'm going to focus on my business until I get to 10K per month, or 15 or 20 or 50K per month, and then once I reach that, then maybe I focus on like more on self-development, kind of like more meditating, reading. So yeah, like definitely I would say like it's not possible to like focus on everything at the same time. And at the same time, it's also not good just to like mindlessly focus on just one thing, then ignore the rest, because that's also how you end up with, or like that's how it looks like when you have people that are like out of shape, they're fat, they're sad, they have no friends, they have no relationships, and they're rich, and that doesn't serve the purpose, because even though they have like a lot of money, they are not happy, like their life is not complete. And that's why I think you can just like work on these individually, and like slowly with time, like progressively just get them up to a higher and higher level. And I said it's like 10 out of 10, but at the same time, I think you can never reach 10. So it's like infinite journey.
Yeah, beautifully said, man. I like to ask that question a lot, because it's almost everyone says the same. For me personally, also, just to give a practical example, I'm naturally, I like to go to the gym naturally and to get leaner and bigger, to like, I like to eat a lot to gain weight and stuff, to gain muscle. So I naturally, when I'm bored, I just, go to the gym, do this. And the other day I was like, dude, my gym journey, my health is already on an 8, 9 out of 10. To get it from an 8 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10, I will need the same effort and time than bringing my business from a 3 out of 10 to a 6 out of 10. So what would give me more
100%,
overall
100%.
life satisfaction, like making 5K more per month for my business, or having like my lower ab shining through a little bit more through my shirt? I'm like, dude, like fuck the lower ab, man. You know what I mean? So it's like looking at these areas like kind of objectively, and then decide like for which one or two you go.
Yeah, this is also super important and super like insightful what you said, because I forgot to address this. Is that definitely like getting from an 8, or like getting from a 7 to 8, or like from 9 to 9.5 is way more challenging than just going from 2 to 5 or 6. And this is also what I saw with my fitness, for example, because I'm also into fitness. I was into fitness since I was like 16 or 17, because I grew up very skinny. I was like very small, very skinny. And then once I was in England with my father, I was like going through the teenage years, and I didn't do too much. And I was just like eating a lot of the bad foods, and I just got fat. So which was if you're into fitness, then like this is the worst combination, the skinny fat. Like how I was. So that was a very bad place. And that was also the age, where like you're really conscious about how you look, how you feel. So I was like, okay, I just need to do something with this. I got into fitness. And at some point I also was shooting for, I tried to do, I wrote a book, a fitness book. And that was back then, that was my plan. Like I want to be coaching, a fitness coach. So at that point, I also done some photo shoots. I was dieting down for like to 8 or 7% body fat. You know, like the veins popping, the 8-pack, everything. And I noticed that I couldn't do anything else. Like I didn't have enough energy to do like anything else. I was just like always thinking about what I'm gonna eat, how I'm gonna train.
Yeah.
And then my sleep was bad. My overall motivation and drive was bad. Like I remember, I think it was September or you know, like definitely warm. Like you can go with a t-shirt or maybe a light jacket. And I had 3 or 4 different layers on, and people in the office were asking me like, "What's wrong, dude?" Like they're in the t-shirt, and I'm just like with 5 layers.
Yeah.
And then I had some like 1 egg white for lunch, and then, that all comes from just like, if you really want to get good at something, you have to sacrifice the rest. And it's just on you, like if this is actually beneficial in your life, like as you said, if it's more beneficial for you to have an 8-pack, or and then look even at the reasons why you want to have the 8-pack, and it's most likely because of other people, right? Like if you were the only guy on the planet, you probably wouldn't care about having an 8-pack. So it's mostly about just like how other guys see you. If they, you know, obviously they gonna think like, oh, cool dude, like 8-pack, man, you're killing your boss. And then obviously from girls as well, they find us, I would say, more attractive. But at the same time, what if you just had a 4-pack or 6-pack and then work on your social skills, on your business, so you can overall be just a much higher quality person, more attractive. And then you're also much more happy, right? Because you are in balance. So
it's funny you mentioned it. Like I get so many more comments by guys and by girls when I'm like 8% lean. So crazy. Like girls don't care. And I don't want to see girls then, you know, my libido is just dead. I just want to
100%.
eat. It's weird. I don't know what the bias is called, but we think that a future possibility will make us happy, but our brain is super bad at this. I don't know what it's called. Like from a book. I never read the book actually. Like Mario Tomic talked about it once. Our brain is super bad to think about
what exactly. What exactly do you mean? Like, can you elaborate? Because I think this is pretty interesting.
Our brain is super bad at predicting our future happiness, I guess. This was it. Yeah. So if you think like, this will make us happy, but then in the present moment, it's actually, we overestimate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as you said, that's a good book. Have you read? It's actually here somewhere. The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt.
No, not the book. I just know the title, so I have it somewhere like in my bookmarks that I'm gonna read at some point.
Yeah, it's sorry.
Yeah, that's also kind of a side note here, that before I was more into self-development and like just reading books, listening to audiobooks. And now I'm just like, since I know what exactly I'm doing, and I also have my mentors right now, like for business. So I see myself way less just reading and consuming new information, and just like much more doing, because as we mentioned at the beginning, like if you just have knowledge, even if you're just like more and more knowledge, that's also a big part of what I see people doing wrong. Like they always just think they're making progress by having more information, which obviously is not true. Like this is not how it works. So now I'm also like consciously even trying to just execute much more and work on the actual things that even in business, since like this whole podcast is around business, just like look at the things that bring you the more money, that are the most important, because that's also, I think, a big reason why the first business, like why I wasted so much time, because I was like focusing on like having my logo perfect, my branding, my website, my everything, you know, like designed perfectly. And obviously even now, like with my current business, I still do it, especially because I'm in this niche where like people are very visually based, photographers, graphic designers, videographers. So obviously like I still spend time on this, but when I do this, I kind of like look at it like, okay, I just need to get this done as soon as possible. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be like, 9 out of 10, let's say, or 8 out of 10, because just me perfecting the logo or like different colors or gradients on my background is not going to bring me money, and it's not going to help other people, so that's the overall thing. Like people just have to like really in focus, in business as well as in life, just like focus on what is bringing you right now in the moment like the best results as well as for the future. Because then obviously like if you know, well, you can never be certain about future, but like if you have the feeling that something is going to pay off in the future, maybe like creating some systems, maybe investments, and these kind of things, like then it's in my opinion okay also to sacrifice a little bit in the present, just like, because if you're working on something, then you kind of know like, okay, if I just work on this and I create the systems, it's going to be working for the future. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautifully said. And by the way, this podcast is not just all about business. Like if you go on other side tangents, there's no problem. But just mention it. Yeah. Something cool. I guess you also know Mario Tomic, right?
Yeah.
I remember I did a webinar with him four
Oh,
years
nice.
ago.
Okay.
4 years ago. And then after the webinar, we did also like a back and forth privately. And he told me something I never forgot. He told me problems that are created by the mind can only be solved by action. And problems that are solved by action can mostly just getting solved by the mind, by getting
Right.
more knowledge.
Oh wow, that's powerful. Yeah.
So it's kind of what Einstein said, like a problem cannot get solved by the paradigm that created it, kind of. If you have a problem in the scarcity paradigm, you cannot cannot get solved by more scarcity. So what you said, like it's like the more I work on my business, I also realize, dude, like practical skills, practical action is so much more important. Like reading a book here and there is super important as well. If you can kill like time with Audible. But otherwise, man, like you said, I did this for so long. I just like productive procrastination. I had no idea how to schedule my day. I was like, yeah, let's read some Gary Vee. There's some Gary Vee here actually in my bookshelf. Let's just like read some Gary Vee or some Eckhart Tolle or whatever.
But it also transitions what you said, that a problem can't be solved, or like you said it way better, that usually what creates the problem can't be solved also by the same means. And this is now what I see with my coaching students, or with myself as well, that if someone has like some limiting beliefs or something is holding them back from actually achieving the goals that they want and being successful, like they can't do this by themselves. Like they first of all, they don't even realize these problems, they don't see the problems. And even if they did, like maybe they realize like, okay, I'm bad at marketing. I can't really attractively position what I'm doing, my service, so that other people are actually interested in working with me, right? So this might be a problem, but at the same time, like they can't even fix this efficiently, or maybe they can, like, and it's going to take them a long time, a lot of probably a lot of money, a lot of wasted energy and effort. And so this is by any means, or like, but like definitely the best way to actually fix these things. And I would say in every area, the best way is just to get a mentor, because even if you read these books, like as we are both listening to books, we are both like into self-development, but at the same time, like in a book, there's nobody just giving you feedback personally on your life. Okay, so like maybe you have a problem with this, or maybe you think that you have a problem with sales, and at the same time, maybe your problem is just like fear of talking to people, for example. And then like you yourself can't really see this efficiently. And that's why like the idea of having a mentor and someone that went through pretty much exactly what you do right now can give you directly input. You're like, okay, do this, don't do this. And just like, this is how we're going to do it in the most efficient way. So yeah, like even I guess you with your students, with your clients, you see the same dynamic, right?
Yeah, totally. It's beautiful what you said about the mentors. Like I have this joke I tell people, like I have this weird personality disorder. Like when I see people on social media, I want to meet them and talk to them in person. That's why I wanted to talk to you. I have like this weird urge to do it. And for example, sometimes when I talk to one of my favorite authors, like I talked to I was in Bucharest, I talked with Zan Perion, the author of the book The Alabaster Girl. He was also in the game, funny enough. There's a whole chapter about him in the game. So I was like, he's like the natural. They never mentioned by name. So I was like, dude, I want to see him in real life. I want to talk to him. And when you read his advice in his book, it's kind of cool. But when he touches you on the shoulder, he looks you in the eyes and he tells you what you should do, you're like, dude, if even he says this to me, I'm like, must be true. It's hard for your beliefs to stay there. If he tells you, hey, Michal or Charles, do this, you can do it, I believe in you. Like, if he says it, like it must be true. Just go and do it. So it's like really powerful, especially if you hear it from someone you kind of admire. Since a couple of years.
And that's also what I learned like through my journey as a coach, as a mentor, is that, you know, before when I started, I just knew I want to do this because I was good at this myself and I knew I can help the other people. But it's actually an art on its own, just the way you coach other people to be as effective as possible. Because, you know, if you don't have these skills, then you can just tell people what they should do and they're not going to do it. And it's not even their fault. Like, of course, like that's also one important thing that I always keep in mind, that everything that happens to me or that is going on in my life is in my control. And like always when something goes bad, I blame it on me. Like it's always my fault.
Yeah.
And this way, obviously it might sound harsh, like of course, like not everything is your fault, right? Like people just do stupid mistakes, but at the same time, like especially now when I influence people with what I say and with how I behave, uh I always, like, if something doesn't go as planned, I just look at me and okay, I kind of reflect like what could have done better, or like what maybe I said something that I shouldn't have said, or I could have said that differently. uh and that's also with coaching. So every time like the client doesn't achieve results or they are not super happy, then I just look, I first of all, I ask them, and then we kind of communicate this clearly, like, okay, you know, do you want me to push you more? Do you want to ask more questions? Like, do you want this and this? And I think that's also very important with the communication, because sometimes just some people, uh, naturally, they, even though they pay a good amount of money for mentoring and for someone to coach them, you know, pretty much daily, they just never ask questions, or they never have anything to like tell you or ask you, right? And I tell them like, dude, I wish I can help. Like I'm here for you every day. Like you have my WhatsApp, we are on calls, you can ask me literally anything. And that's also like the way, what I'm trying to say, like the way you coach, like it takes time to find your own style of coaching, because yeah, like some people, they're like super hardcore, they're heavy, like uh hard on their clients, like, okay, you just gotta execute, you have to do this now, you piece of shit, like you haven't done this. And then obviously like this works with some people, and then also with some students, because yeah, like then these type of people probably attract also students or clients that are looking for this kind of style. And for me, it was like the way I grew up, I was like very unconfident, very soft, very understanding.
Yeah.
And this is actually what prevented me from being a good coach, because um, people that are your clients, they don't want a friend, they want a coach, they want a mentor that sometimes can tell them like, hey, you just fucked up, like you just have to do this, or just do this, you know. And then I think the more I learn this, the more successful I become as a coach. And then also the more people are going to see the results, because even now, like pretty much all my students, they are super happy. They see very, very good results. But you know, I know that I can always be better. I can always go to the next level. So
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. I have a weird question, kind of, because I'm into this stuff right
mm-hmm.
now. I'm doing some inner work. I'm in Julian Blanc's his transformation
Mm-hmm.
mastering,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a death meditation there. So almost every day I think about my own mortality. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's the question is a little bit out of the blue, but if you would know like you would die soon, and you just have like one overall message, you know, like your main message about your life philosophy or how to become successful, whatever, and you could write it down or even record it or just say it on this podcast here, what would be like your main core message to the world? It's super powerful, but I like to think about that. So I think about the stuff daily. I'm like, what's mine? You know, I'm like, oh, dude, that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
But this abundance versus scarcity thing is would be like one of my things, I would say, which helped me the
Mm-hmm.
most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It would be something like it would be related to abundance and believing in yourself, and go with the intuition and just like think bigger. Because even if I just look at my own life, and I think like the more I discover myself and the more I just look at people around me, uh, I see this pattern that the ones like it's the most successful people or like the happiest people are not the ones that were given everything or that have the perfect skills, but the ones that like are never afraid to just like go the extra mile, to always um to always to always try more. And I was on an Instagram live with a previous student of mine, and he was also like very, very cool guy, very good mindset. And he also said that when he got to shoot as a videographer for one of the biggest festivals in USA. And then we kind of discussed this topic, and then he told me like, yeah, dude, you just have to keep trying. Like I sent maybe 80 or 90 DMs, and even 99 no's, and one yes is still one yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's also what you have to keep in mind. Like, just keep trying and think bigger. Like, don't limit yourself, because I think pretty much all of us, unless you have like very entrepreneurial oriented parents, then we just have the scarcity mindset. We just want to live safe, and we just don't want to give our best or put yourself in like risky situations. And that's exactly what you have to do. That's what makes you happy. That's what creates these amazing experiences. Because like, if I would be afraid to not go anywhere and would just listen to my parents and maybe like my inner voice telling me like, okay, I should better stay safe and like play low, then I would never even study outside of my own country, right? Because that was also a decision that I was 18 or 19, and now suddenly like I went on my own and studied abroad. So, and then, for example, with just like traveling or getting a job that, completely put me out of my social circle, my environment, and just trying something new. And now even with business, like sometimes I have these crazy ideas, and before I would be like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Like I just can't do this. And now I'm just like, why not? It's my business. I can do whatever I want. And these things, like these impulses, usually create the biggest impact, the biggest result. So to sum it up, I would say, just you really have to find like what you're good at, like what you really want doing. Because I think my life overall changed completely as soon as I figured out that photography and video production is something that I really want to do. Then kind of like overall my happiness increased, and I kind of felt that whatever I'm doing, I'm on my mission and it makes sense. So I would say just like try, if you're young, just try a lot of things and just like try what you're good at. Like try speaking with different people, like take up different hobbies, travel, just get out there, experience life. And then once you find that thing, just stick to it, and then just improve, and then never stop, and then just go for it. Think big, believe in yourself, and impact, help other people, and just create an amazing lifestyle.
Yeah, dude, I love it. I would say exactly the same, actually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned your inner voice. I like to talk about the inner voice, but one thing I would
Mm-hmm.
also say that for myself is don't trust your mind too much, because your thoughts are like trying to keep you stuck some kind of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also one thing I would say. But it's funny you mentioned you talked about the abundance scarcity thing, because it's something I wrote down after my travels.
Mm-hmm.
Put on a piece of paper like a weird thought that I had, because I like to think about these bigger things and like these woo-woo things. So I wrote down like thoughts that are based in scarcity are not even my own thoughts. They come from somewhere else. Like this
Yeah,
negative, low vibration energies, like hijacking my mind and being like afraid. Just like thoughts that come from like a place of abundance, presence, joy.
Mm-hmm.
These
Mm-hmm.
are like my thoughts, even though you could argue they're not. But it's just
Yeah,
something I
yeah,
had to
yeah.
think about, because it's like I said in the beginning, like a mental illness, man. It's like it's scary to think about. So if someone, it's scary to think about how someone can stay their whole life in the same mindset and just like in a scarcity based mindset, and to never see the other side. It's like scary to think about, man.
And that goes all the way back as when you were speaking with these homeless people, right? Like they're fully into the scarcity victim mindset, and that's also like the only reason why they're at where they are, right? Because they always blame someone else, and the life just doesn't work this way. And then if you just look
Yeah.
at the high quality people, like even me, like 2-3 years ago, like I was very very in this like bad mindset, in the scarcity mindset, and I was like always making excuses. Like for example, when I was late, I'm being late a lot. Like that's one of my negative traits still. And then back then, like I felt sorry for myself. I was explaining myself for 5 minutes, like, yeah, like the traffic was bad, and like I brushed my teeth for way too long. And now, like now, if something happens, I just don't make any excuses. I just blame everything on my own.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I also don't make a big deal out of it. So, like for example, when I come somewhere late, then obviously I hate being late. I respect the other people, but at the same time, like just excusing anything else in my environment like doesn't help anybody. Like it doesn't help me, doesn't help the other people. So just come in, I just like hey guys, I'm sorry I'm late. Let's get into it. And just like, what can you do? So,
Yeah.
and now really like it's kind of hard as well. Like if you think about this, if you meditate, if you like really go through life consciously, like you always have these negative thoughts and limiting beliefs, and you're judging people. You think you're not good enough, you're not confident enough, which is exactly like just these thoughts which you have to learn how to let go of, and then you naturally become like abundant and happy and
Yeah.
value giving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wanted to tell you also something in private, something I've got from my YouTuber also, because I was informing myself about scarcity and abundance, and always where focus goes, energy flows. So right
Mm,
now I go so far, I tell myself it's my responsibility to choose where I focus on. Do I focus on the things I
yes.
have, gratitude, or do I focus the things I don't have? Because actually it's fun. I never
Mm-hmm.
realized this. You always get into scarcity if you think about things you have not, like things you lost. If you think about things you have less, or if you think about things you will never have. So loss, less, or never, these three
Oh
words are
wow.
like trigger
Yeah,
words
yeah.
for me. When I have like bad negative thinking, I'm like, what am I thinking about? Oh yeah, never. I will never get a cool girlfriend. Or less. Oh yeah, like the
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin price went down like half. Fuck. Or that rather I should think about abundance. What am I grateful for? I guess I would love to hear your opinion. One thing I guess is to focus on gratitude. But then one other thing is to focus on like future opportunities to get into abundance, I would say. What do you do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Like what you said with the gratitude, that definitely confirms also my experience, because I think we are both, or like many people listening to this, are like very naturally kind of a high performers, and we always push ourselves to do more and like to always go to the next level. And this also, I think, creates the unhappiness, because even though we see that okay, we are always getting better at some point, or like something, but it's never good enough for us. Like it's never enough, and we are never satisfied. And that's also when I realized, like when I'm not depressed or sad a lot of times, because I just don't have time for it.
That's a good one. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
But if I am, then I always just like go into like gratitude, and I always think about all the things that I have achieved already, and that a lot of people just look up to me, and my family's grateful about where I am right now. And then once I'm in this position, like okay, just think about my current life, my current situation, and just be grateful. That's automatically where I just get happy again, like back to 100% happiness, and then I can just like move on with my life. So
Hmm.
gratitude is a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So I don't want to hold you off from hustling. Are you hustling after the podcast still, or are you like
Yeah, 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 yeah,
hustling,
100%.
right? Good, good,
Hmm.
good. So
Because I'm also moving cities. So now, like the last 3 days, I'm in Kiev. So I'm like wrapping up everything, and then yeah, yeah.
why are you
Then
moving?
I go to Bratislava, to my hometown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
And then
these.
Bali, I guess. I hope for
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
Bali.
I hope to.
Awesome. So do you have an end message for the listeners, actually?
I think that was a very, very intense, even for me. Just like this whole podcast, just having an interview with someone that we are on the same path. We have like very closely related topics and views on perspective on life, on business, on success, on ourselves. Um, and a lot of good points were mentioned. So yeah, I don't really have any closing message here. I'm not sure like what's. I think like for people, if they maybe tuned into the podcast a little bit later, or if they skipped some parts, then just go to the start and watch it again, because
Yeah.
it's worth it. It's a lot of good information here, and as we said, like it's not only about having information. So first, just focus on getting the information, and then once you feel that you don't have to be perfect, but once you feel that you are halfway ready, or like you're good
Mm,
enough, just go and try it, go and execute, and then you will learn in the process as well.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Just like take action, focus on executing, surround yourself with like-minded, high-quality people that you can look up to, that you can learn from, get mentors, and yeah, that
Beautiful.
is my message.
I love it. I mean, to be honest, my last question was so intense. Like, if you would die tomorrow, what would you say? Then I'm like, do you have an ending message? Kind of hardcore. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time, dude. I really appreciate it. Where can people find you if they want to know more about you, your business?
Yeah, 100%. So I guess it might be interesting for everybody, but especially, of course, for photographers, for videographers, and even people that have still their like 9 to 5 job. Maybe they study and they just picked up their first camera and they kind of feel like, okay, this is something, this could be interesting in the future. Like this is something that maybe I want to like take from a hobby to, actually earning money with this. Then I can definitely help you with this. And you can simply go to my Instagram, which is Mike's. So it's MAJK and 4 S's. or to my exactly abundance of S's, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Or to my website, which is, maybe we can also link it somewhere here. It's videopreneurmentoring.com.
Nice. Yeah, if anyone wants to get into like videography, I highly suggest you, because you have good skills in videography, but you also have a good mindset overall, because I guess you will not just learn about videography, you will learn about sales, marketing, all the good stuff.
100%. It's also like everything what we discussed here on this call, and that's why I think it was like so good, and I really enjoyed, like, it was 1.5 hours and it felt to me like 15 minutes, right? Because this is also a big part of what I teach people, what I teach guys is, overall just like designing your life and your mindset to allow yourself to even be successful, right? Because if you don't want to be successful, then you just keep dreaming about having these goals and you never reach them. So it's all, I really believe now that of course, like, people tell you that you have to be confident about your service, about what you do, and I try to like fake it at the beginning, but now especially after I like see all my clients' successes, and now also like I'm transitioning from like one-on-one coaching to group coaching. So I was like recording some materials, and now like honestly I can say from the bottom of my heart that if you are a photographer or a videographer, like this is the best thing you can do for yourself.
I agree. Thank you so much, dude, for taking the time. Thank you so much for anybody
thanks so much, Charles, for your invitation and for me having you here on your podcast.
No worries, dude. Perhaps I will be soon on your podcast with your mic, dude. Like, it looks so professional. Like, for anyone listening on Spotify, like, you should check the YouTube podcast. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Let me know in the comments below who you want to see next. Like that video, and I will see you next time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye-bye.